Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to another show here on Tomorrow's Voice. Today we have an exciting topic. I feel like a topic so big that we cannot cover today. It's impossible to cover today. So hopefully we'll give kind of like a short summary of everything that we're going to go over. But obviously nothing in depth. Again, we're not ustads, we're not scholars, we're not imams. We're not. We don't have doctorates in these things. So
maybe you do, Zain.
Inshallah, we're just here to motivate everyone, try and bring everyone close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, try and bring some beneficial knowledge, not only to you guys sitting at home, whether you're in the car, whether you're at home, whether you're sitting in the car thinking, yo, why is this guy put on Salaam Radio? Why is he not putting on the tunes? Wherever it is, you're listening to this show for a reason. So inshallah, to start off the show, which is something. Actually, hang on a minute. I forgot to introduce, of course, the amazing Abdul Roqeeb, our co-host. He's back again.
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for having me.
Again, before starting the show, a habit I'm trying to do myself, and inshallah, if you are a regular listener, if you do tune in every Saturday at 4 p.m., hopefully, inshallah, you're making this a habit when you listen to our show, is that setting your intention, right? Our actions are judged based on our intentions, so it's good to set the right intention before each action. Whether it's a mediocre task, like even just going to work, going to school, something like that, something that you could even think, how is this going to benefit me in the next life? How do I set my intention straight? If you have the right intention when doing it, then inshallah you'll be rewarded for it in the next life.
Inshallah.
So inshallah, before even starting this show, before delving into this topic, I'd like us all to set our intentions, inshallah. If you're not going to listen to the full show and you know you're only going to listen to 5-10 minutes, then inshallah listen, take it in, understand what we're trying to say and understand the message that we're trying to preach and understand where we're coming from through this message. And as you will be sitting there listening to the show, inshallah, as we speak, we'll be motivating ourselves to become better Muslims day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. It's a never-ending journey, and sometimes it can become overwhelming, thinking that I'm not making progress. I'm going backwards sometimes. But it's about keep pushing every single day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you life in the morning, every single morning. So if He subhanahu wa ta'ala can give you life, then it's up to us to use that time productively, to go towards Him, whether it's through your education, your job, whatever you're doing, do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do it for His sake. So inshallah, we all set our intentions that, at least for us here, this next hour, we'll be talking about Islam and we'll be talking about the religion that we have been blessed with. And inshallah, we'll be motivating ourselves and motivating you at home to, inshallah, to study more, to learn more about the deen, to practice more, to do more ibadah, to really, really spend your time in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to maximize your time in this dunya.
I think you mentioned it, saying that this is more for us than it is for you listening at home. First and foremost, it's for us. I don't want anyone thinking, who are these random two blokes telling us about Islam? What do they know? They're children. They don't know much. So first and foremost, let us remind ourselves. It's a reminder for us. And if you guys benefit, alhamdulillah, so whatever goodness that we say, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we ask you to forgive us for anything that has angered you. So I think that was important to mention.
Yeah, and I think also knowing that, so as you were saying, like, who are these, like, youngers almost, like, this is a youth show, although we're not expecting just youth to listen, of course. Definitely. It's for everyone to listen, because the youth are the future. And when you realize that and you really try to impact the youth, to bring them close to the masjid, to bring them close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is when you realize that just how we're the future, even though the older generations, like, you don't just forget about them, right?
No. You
so
take advice from them.
They are just as important in this journey for us. But I think going straight into this topic, inshallah, this dunya, knowing what this dunya is in comparison to our journey, right? So we have been placed in this world with no memory of what came before us, right? So our souls, they didn't just start when we started in this world. Our souls were created before this, yet we don't remember it, and that's for a reason, because this world for us is a test. right?
I mean, imagine if we did remember what it
if we
was
remembered
like.
it, then
We're like,
I'm pretty sure everyone would be Muslim at this point.
Everyone's like, 24/7, no sins. But that's not the purpose of Allah's existence. But no, if we had remembered, everybody would be perfect. Then there wouldn't be any need for, do this, do that, do that. But, as you mentioned, it's for a purpose. It's for us to, to be tested. If you forget, then, you're going to start afresh. You're new. You don't know what's happened before. And now that then helps you determine how you're going to plan your future. How are you going to do that? How can you do that if you remember what's happened? You remember the good times,
exactly.
in the realm of the souls, So
it's like if we knew Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was real, if we even remembered knowing that life before this came, and we knew this religion was the right religion, then it won't be a test for anyone. Everyone will march towards Islam straight away. There'll be no question about it. And we did attempt to do some maths, inshallah. So if it is wrong, do let us know. Leave a comment.
You can mention that to Zain specifically.
Now we'll blame Abdul Roqeeb, inshallah.
I thought it was you.
We made an attempt to try to compare just this dunya, just our time in this world. So if we take our time in this world, and let's be a bit ambitious here. Let's say we're living to about 100, right?
Max, inshallah.
So if we're in this world for about 100 years, and we just want to compare this just to the Day of Judgment, which is going to be 50,000 years long, this world will only take up 0.2% of our time.
Subhanallah.
Yet this 0.2% is the most important 0.2%. This time in this world, this 100 years that we have, is going to determine how the next 99.8% go, how the next 50,000 years go. So just by taking the Day of Judgment and this world, you can make a comparison on how important our actions in this world are. Every second when we're breathing in this world, when you're taking time in this world, even when you're just walking to school, walking to work, having that habit of mentioning the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just reading the kalma over and over in your head, something like that could make a huge difference in that next 99.8%. And that's just a comparison we can make ourselves.
Subhanallah. I think you're quite right there. Sorry to interrupt you. I think you can actually look at this from a different dimension, which just came to me. Some people are so focused on the dunya. They're so focused, I have to make this, I have to make money. Now, in a sense, on one hand, that 0.2% is incredibly important to determine the rest of your 99.8. Will you be sweltering? Will you be sweltering to your ankle, to your chest, to your head, in sweat, Is that how you will be on the Day of Judgment? Or will you be, under the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, chilling, happy, all that sort of thing. So that's how important this dunya is. But on the other hand, some people are too focused on this dunya, especially those perhaps that might not have Islam or not have a good understanding of Islam. They're looking for wealth, they're looking for money, they're looking for fame. That's all they're looking for. And this is now just 0.2%. You are going to stand there for 50,000 years. You're going to stand there before you're able to even know whether you're going to Jannah or Jahannam. And people are just literally throwing away the dunya. They're throwing away the dunya and not thinking about the akhirah. And I think that's what we're going to cover, the importance of, preparing for the akhirah in this dunya.
Yeah, and knowing what to place in your heart. Because a lot of times we place the wrong things in our heart. Is knowing what to place in your heart and what to actually go for in this life. But even like we've compared this dunya to the Day of Judgment. If you try to make a comparison between this world, where we're in right now, this dunya, and you try to compare it to Jannah or Jahannam, it cannot be done. You can't measure eternity, infinity, to a finite number. You can't measure 100 years to an infinite amount of years.
I didn't know we had a mathematician in the studio today.
I'd like to be humble. Nah. But it's just logical. You can't, something that's infinite, you can't compare it to something that's not. We have a comment. Shaitan knew Allah was real but still failed. What an L. Not sure who left that comment, but that is indeed
I was like,
L.
okay, this is interesting. What's he going to say?
I thought this was going to be some sort of fiqhy comment or something like that.
Thank you very
But to
much
be
for
fair,
the comment.
that is a huge L. Something we probably won't go into today, but I think that's a good topic to go over,
Definitely.
the origins of mankind and how Prophet Adam alayhi salam was made and how Shaitan was told to bow down to him and he didn't, and things like that. I think that's a good topic for the future, inshallah. Thank you for that inspiration.
Really appreciate that.
That inspiring comment. But inshallah, I think just keeping that in mind day to day, it's hard to remember. Even for us, it's hard to remember, right? How insignificant this world is. Sometimes we get wrapped up in it so much. We get angry over small things. Like in football, for example. If the opposite team scores, we start screaming at the TV saying, yo, what's going on? Start kicking radiators, things like that.
Blaming the referee.
Exactly. Like it's so easy to just get wrapped up in this dunya that you forget how insignificant it is compared to the next life. But how important our actions are in this world. And how we should be sticking to, of course, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and the way of our religion. I think going on to the next example, these are just obviously small examples to give us kind of a realization of the world that we're in. Small metaphors, small examples to give us a little bit more of an idea of how insignificant this world is compared to the next, right? And this example, I've mentioned it before on radio, and I'm not sure where I got it from.
I remember his sources
the sources aren't legit, let's say, but I remember watching it on YouTube. I think it might have been at Speaker's Corner or something like that. But there was I think it was an ustad that mentioned an example of this dunya being like a hotel room, and this always hit with me. As soon as I heard this, every time I remind myself of it, it really hits me. This dunya is like a hotel room, right? Are you going to spend time in that hotel room decorating it, changing the carpets? You'll be like, oh, I don't like how that clock looks. I'm going to change the clock. Even though you only have maybe a weekend or a couple of days in that hotel room, you're not going to spend your time decorating that room, changing that room, painting the walls, stuff like that, because it's not your room, right? You only have a temporary amount of time in that hotel room. Right, so there's some people that will decorate. There's some people that will change the bed. There's some people that will paint the walls, that will change the TV and make themselves comfortable in that hotel room. But there are others that will realize one day I'll move out this hotel room. And one day I'll move into a permanent residence, a house afterwards. And from the hotel room, they'll be calling contractors. They'll be ringing builders saying, yo, set out the foundations, build up these walls. I want 4 bedrooms. I want this, this and this. And if you use that example for this dunya, you'll realize that the person calling up the contractors, the person building their home in the next world is the abd in this world who's worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The servant, the slave in this world who's spending his time to wake up for tahajjud, spending his time waking up for fajr, spending his time in 4 daily salah, spending his time making dua to Allah, reading the Quran, memorizing Quran, even doing daily actions when it goes to going to work, providing for his family, whether it's charity work, whether it's helping the community around him, the local community, like your local masjid has a right upon you, the local community has a right upon you, giving back that right to them, helping them, bringing youth toward the masjid, things like that. That abd in this world that's doing something like that, that servant that's doing something like that, that is the person that's calling the contractors. That is the person that's setting the foundations for the next world.
And that's the type of person we should aspire to be. We want to be the one, whilst we're doing good, the angels recording and saying, oh, this is translating into, palaces in Jannah. You don't want to be the person who is so focused on painting and decorating, the hotel when you will eventually move out. What a waste of your time, your effort to be, decorating a room. 3 days later, okay, time to vacate, and now you find yourself in your house that's not built. It's just it's just a plot of...
You'll turn up on that day being disappointed.
Exactly, it's just a plot of land. You're like, hey, what's going on? Where's my house at? You were so busy with the dunya that you neglect your akhirah. We have to question these sort of things.
I feel like this topic in general is such a hard topic for the youth to get around, especially the youth, because we like to be so distracted with Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, all these little things.
And when we say we, definitely us two included.
Of course. I think every single person that's young, that's below the age of 25 or 30, will have this kind of like disease that we're just addicted to this dunya, and we think, when we get older we'll start praying, when we get older we'll start worshipping Allah.
But we have no guarantee of us getting older.
There's so many, even in just your personal lives, you'll know of people that have passed away before the age of 25, that have passed away before the age of 20. You see, you'll never know when you're going to die. You could die tonight in your bed. When your soul returns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the night, Allah could choose not to return your soul back to your body. And then only then will you start regretting it. When you go to the next life, and again, when we're comparing this world to the Day of Judgment, we're not even including all the other types of worlds that our soul goes through. Like, for example, the life in the grave, right? Barzakh. Like, there's so many other things our soul will go through, and there's so many other comparisons we can make. So as soon as we realize how temporary this world is, I feel like this is a harder idea for the youth to get around. See, when you're older, when you're like
you
70,
have that sense
80,
of like, oh, my time is
you know
coming.
you're going.
Exactly. But I think it's also a way in looking at youth mentality. You know, have to bring some sort of mental note to it. I have to. But basically, because we're young now, we usually have a lot of free time and we don't have that much responsibility compared to, you know, older people. So because we have that free time, you know, we want to, I don't know, party. We want to run free, you know, run wild. And that makes us, you know, not think about the day of judgment, you know, that often. And because we're youth, we're like, oh, you know, I'm going to die when I'm 70, 80. We have that mentality that we have time. And you've beautifully said it. You know, we know family members, we know friends who didn't reach the age of 18, 19, 20. You know, people die young. Yes, it's not overly common, but it is still a possibility. Now, the question is, have we prepared for that possibility? The answer is, you know, the truthful answer is no, we're not. You know, we're prepared to die at 70. And you just said it, you know, when I'm 40, 50, now I'll get onto the deen, you know, alhamdulillah, tasbih, 1,000, you know, by the day, going here, doing that. So we have to prepare now, because we don't have any guarantee that we have enough time to be able to get onto the deen when we're older.
I also think there's another side of it as well. There's some people who will sit here and think, in my youth, okay, I'm going to mess around now, and then later on I'll pattern up. Later on when I'm 70, 80, I'll start worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But not all the time it's not that simple, right? Sometimes it's not that simple, and sometimes old habits die hard. And you'll see that you'll become addicted to certain sins, certain habits that don't disappear when you're 70. They don't disappear when you're 50, 60, 40, wherever those habits are, whether it's addiction to social media, whether it's any type of drug, vaping, smoking, wherever it is. You might think, okay, next year I'm going to give it up, or in the next 5 years I'm going to give it up. But it's not that simple. You see, the more and more you let shaitan take over, the more and more you let shaitan win, the better and better the holy has over your heart. You know, there was an example I've seen, I think in many YouTube videos, I think it's from Numan Ali Khan, and he mentioned that every single time you open the door to shaitan, eventually you don't need to open the door. Eventually he kicks the door down, right? Every single time you add a black dot onto your heart with every single sin, eventually your heart just becomes black and it becomes part of who you are. And you'll see this when you reach the month of Ramadan. When shaitan is locked away and you still continue those bad habits from before, you told yourself, okay, this is the last time I'm going to do it. I'm going to go into Ramadan fresh and new. Yet you still continue those bad habits. And if anything, that should be a wake-up call for you. That should show you that maybe I've let shaitan win too much. Maybe I need to start fighting back. Maybe I need to start fighting my nafs, my desires. Maybe I should cut down on social media, cut down on these sins from now, not tomorrow, not next Ramadan, not next year, but now when you're young, when you can do it. And a lot of the times, you see how like, when you're younger, a lot of the times what you're taught can like model your mind, for example. Like when you're really young, when you're like 5, 6, the things you learn at that age, you'll carry them on into your late teens, but you won't realize it. It'll be subconscious behaviors. And you'll probably know a lot more about this than me.
Not that
in psychology, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
But a lot of the habits you do when you're young, those habits do continue on to later in age, like seeking other people's approval, things like that. Like those things are built into you when you're a young person, and then they go into your late teens and can go into your when you're 50, 60, 70. We have a couple of comments here, inshallah. Some comments from Malik, who couldn't make it today, unfortunately.
The Malik himself,
inshallah, next week he'll be here. He said, decorate the hotel room with some mugs. That would make sense.
It took me a second there, and I didn't even go.
We had some accident with some
monks. There was more than one accident.
A couple of them broke. There we go. Alhamdulillah, we replaced them, so it's all right. It's all right. He said, AB is addicted to YouTube Shorts. Shake my head.
Unbelievable. I can't believe you're exposing me on radio. What was that? What did he say after?
The state of this ummah. You're addicted to YouTube Shorts.
You know what, Malik, if you're listening, I expected better from you, man. Why are you exposing me? And I exposed myself.
You benefit from this comment.
Exactly, and this is what I mean by this show is for us as it is for
this
others.
Next comment's going to hurt you.
Why
Malik
are they talking?
Also said,
Malik.
How is AB youth? Isn't he 30 plus? I mean, to be fair.
What
I have a bit of a point there.
What do you mean, to be fair?
But inshallah, going on to the next part of this show,
you have to give me a chance to
we'll be talking about never placing something of this dunya in your heart, as this dunya is temporary, so your purpose will only be temporary. Allah might take something away from you, to teach you a lesson, and that is out of His mercy, right? So if you really go a bit deeper into that, placing something temporary in your heart, like money, for example, or fame, or social media, or likes, or comments, or anything like that, or even your children, even your parents, if you're living for something else other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a good way to identify this is, why do you wake up in the morning and do what you do? Why do you go to sleep at night at that time that you go to sleep? Are you going to sleep at 12 or 11 to wake up for Fajr? Are you going to sleep, or are you just going to sleep to wake up for school the next morning? Right? Knowing what your intentions are, right? We can easily live in this world and live in this world like it's a blur. Not think about things, not reflect on things.
Some people do that. They just live on autopilot.
It's easy to do that. It's the easy way to live your life, is to live it on autopilot, to follow the trends, to do this, to
be
do
the one who reacts and not the person who acts.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of the time, for youth at least, the biggest addiction and the biggest thing we're putting in our hearts nowadays is society, and pleasing society, and going with trends, online trends, TikTok trends, wherever it is. No matter how silly and ridiculous those trends are, we will do it, because it's almost something that you place in your heart. You'll do it no matter what. You'll go out of your way just to do it, right?
And have to bring a bit of psychology there. It's just basic human nature. You want to be part of society. The worst thing is being alone for the human mind. You're just like, to be alone, that is unacceptable to you. Therefore, as you said, you think about it, you're like, this doesn't make sense to me, but you might still go ahead with it. Why? Because you don't want to be the odd one out. You don't want to be the one called out, why isn't he like us, or that sort of thing. So you're quite right, especially when we're relatively young. We have this strong sense to be part of a community, part of a society. This could be either good or bad. We've already seen the bad example, but on the other hand, if you have a group of friends that are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, going to the mosque, encouraging each other, that could also be positive as well. They remind you of the akhirah, akhi, don't go too far into the dunya. They bring you back. You might go a little further, but there's that lifeline. You can be pulled back. So your friends, I think we've discussed it in the past, the type of friends you make, that sort of thing.
We've gone over that topic many times.
I feel like it was you.
I think we've gone over it at least like 3-4 times. I think Malik's done it as well. I've done it maybe once or twice, but it is such an important topic for the youth, especially. I think maybe we can relate to it a lot more because we experienced it, right? We felt that difference before we had our friends from the masjid, and before we had those friends, and maybe we were just chilling out with boys from school or wherever it is. And then you find that friendship group, and you find those boys that take you close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you feel that freedom, right? A lot of people think when you follow Islam, when you follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you follow the rules, when you stay away from haram and you go towards halal, you think you're kind of chained down. You're kind of like Allah stopping you from going towards haram. But only when you follow the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's the only time you finally find freedom.
Very well said. Very well said.
Because you realize that I don't have enough time in this dunya to make a mistake and learn from my mistakes, right? I don't have time to make a mistake and then learn, make a mistake then learn, because by the time you get out of that process, you'll be so damaged and you'll be so affected by those emotionally and physically that you'll see that you'll have trust issues, you'll have anxiety issues, you'll have so many other issues in your life now to deal with. But instead, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a book. He gave us the sunnah of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He gave us these things to help guide us. He gave us the answers. We just have to read them, basically.
I get what you're saying with the mistake and, figuring it out. Making a mistake and learning from a mistake is a good thing. We're not saying it's necessarily bad. But do you want to spend...
But not to rely on that.
Do you want to spend, the 70 years that you have doing that, make a mistake, learn from it. And you're quite right. If you keep doing that and you don't get out of that vicious circle, then you will become damaged. But then you brought it back by saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of his kindness and infinite mercy, has bestowed upon us the rule books. It's basically the cheat, the answer sheet.
It's like
you have the
mark
test, for the exam.
You have the mark scheme for your A-levels. Are you not going to share it?
You can't fail. You can't fail. It's universal. It's for all of you, and he sent, he didn't just give you the book and said, read it and mark it. He sent a teacher. He sent many teachers. He sent a teacher to you to go through it, hold your hand and go through it and
To
say,
explain
okay,
it.
tick this. This is the answer. SubhanAllah. We do not have, any excuse to then, say on the day of judgment, oh, this and this, I didn't have the answers or that sort of thing. So we need to start having that type of mentality. We have the answer. We have the truth. We need to hold on to it.
Not even just hold on to it. I think also when you have the mark scheme, when you have the answers, share it, right? You're gonna share it with the people you love, right? That's
Especially
how it starts.
your boys. That's
A lot of the time when you see someone practicing, when you see someone get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll see that effect doesn't just stay with that person. As they get closer, as they study the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll see that their family gets closer first, and then their friends, and then people around them, and then slowly and slowly other people they start to shift, even like societies at some point, cities at some point, right?
It's
and
a ripple
one
effect.
person can do a lot of work. But inshallah, we'll be going to the advert soon. JazakAllah khair for everyone who's been listening. I'll just go over what we've covered. We covered the example of this dunya being only 0.2% of the journey of the soul, comparing it to the day of judgment and this life. We went over the hotel room example and building a house in the next world. We went over not placing something in your heart that's not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the way you identify this is, why do you wake up in the morning? Why do you go to sleep at night? Do you wake up for Fajr? Do you pray the Hajj? Do you really put Allah close to your heart? And inshallah we'll talk about that after the break as well, about the Hajj, about the Salah, about how important it is to answer Allah's call. Right, you'll answer the call of your mother when she calls you on your phone, yet we're not answering the call of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He calls us for Fajr. So inshallah we'll cover this after the break. JazakAllah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
Discover peace of mind with Islamic wills from W&P Legal and Mariam Khan. Expertly tailored to respect Islamic principles and UK law, ensuring your legacy is honoured. We offer tax-efficient wills, probate, lasting power of attorney and more. Trust us for a culturally sensitive estate plan. Your legacy, our priority. Call W&P Legal now on 01778 252 301.
Attention foodies! Discover a world of flavours at Pack Foods, the largest ethnic supermarket in Peterborough. Shop our vast selection of authentic ingredients from around the globe, including spices, marinated fish and meats, and exotic fruits at incredibly low prices. And the best part? We offer free parking. No more hunting for a spot. Come visit us today and explore the incredible range of flavours at Pack Foods, 232 Lincoln Road.
Bite into something wonderfully tasty at Big Mouth, 349 Lincoln Road in Peterborough. Eating in for takeaway or delivery, Big Mouth now have a delicious new menu full of all your favourites. Crispy fried chicken, juicy smashed burgers, finger-licking peri-peri chicken, handmade pizzas, quality doner meat and so much more. So visit the family-friendly Big Mouth restaurant for fantastically fresh food. Call 01733 201020 or visit getbigmouthonline.com.
Could you spare a few hours each month to provide support to people who are going through tough times? If so, Peterborough Samaritans are looking for volunteers who are empathetic and open-minded, and we'd love to hear from you. We run regular information sessions where you can find out more about what it means to volunteer for Samaritans. If you are at least 18 years of age and would like to know more, please email volunteer@peterboroughsamaritans.org.
Fancy the true taste of Middle Eastern Kurdish food? Asia Restaurant gives you the unique fusion of flavours from Turkey, Iraq, Syria and Iran. Eat in at 5 Fitzwilliam Street, Peterborough, PE1 2RU. Or order through Just Eat, Uber Eats or order through our website, asiarestaurant.co.uk. Call us on 01733 562 530. Asia Restaurant, the true taste of the Middle East.
Are you looking for a career where you can make a difference? At Cross Keys Homes, we work with our local communities to create opportunities that change lives. We're looking for enthusiastic, talented people to join our team, from apprenticeships to senior management positions. Cross Keys Homes can support your development while you enjoy great employee benefits. There are so many opportunities for you to shine. Apply to join the Cross Keys Homes team at crosskeyshomes.co.uk.
Website salamradio.co.uk.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back from the break. Welcome back to Tomorrow's Voice. We had not really an eventful break. AB did leave the studio though and just left me to speak by myself. But
well, it was a break.
So let's continue, inshallah. I did mention a point before the break which I was supposed... Actually, I haven't got it written down, but I think I'll mention anyways. It was that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls you, right? Let's just give the example, like your mum or your dad calls you. Like, for example, we're at university. If your mum or your dad calls you, you don't ignore it, right? You take the call, whether you're with your boys or not. You walk out the room, you take the call and you speak to them, right? But I think what we need to imagine is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling us 5 times a day. And the adhan is calling us towards the salah. And He's calling us 5 times a day, every single day. And some people, they'll see the call and they delay it. Right, and if you see your mum's call and you delay it and you don't pick up and you bring her back later, she'll still be vexed. She'll still be angry at you, right? But some people delay the call and then they call back later, or some people miss it and never call back, right? And imagine how angry your parents will be with you if you missed their calls for a year, 2 years, a month, 2 months, a week, even a day, right? How angry your parents are going to be with you, and they're justified to be angry. They're calling you, but you're not answering. Now imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord who created you, who sustained you, who beats your heart every morning, who wakes you up in the morning, who puts you to sleep at night, who returns your soul back to your body, who lets your lungs fill with air, right? Who sustains you every second of every single day. He's sustaining us, yet we ignore His call, yet we delay His call. Sometimes we ignore Him for a day, sometimes we ignore Him for a year. Should we not feel guilt? Should we not feel that we should turn back to Him, that we should pray to Him, that we should make up for the prayers that we missed, right? And then some people say, why should we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why should we bow down to Him? Why should we prostrate to Him? Should you not be thankful for the gifts that you have? I remember a while ago I gave the example of eyesight, right? I think this was actually on Speaker's Corner. There was a brother who asked why should we be thankful to God, right? Why should we be thankful to our Lord? And the response was amazing. The response was, if someone gave you £5 billion today, would you not thank him? And the guy said, yeah, of course I'd thank him. I'd thank him every morning, right? I'd thank him every night. I'd send him a message saying thank you, right? You'd thank him 5 times a day if he gave you £5 billion, right? Yeah, would you trade your eyesight for £5 billion? Would you trade the ability to move for £5 billion, right? Because some people are paralyzed in this world. Would you trade these things for £5 billion? And of course the answer was no. And this was a non-Muslim he was speaking to. And if the answer was no, then why shouldn't you be thankful to your Lord? The one who blessed you with eyesight, the one who blessed you with health, the one who blessed you with even Iman, with Islam, with the purpose in life, with the community. Like how you mentioned before, we all want to belong to a society. Alhamdulillah, as Muslims, we have one of the biggest societies. There's 2 billion of us around the world. And that's something amazing. When you go traveling, when you see people around, you give them salam, you say assalamu alaikum.
You don't know them, but just the salam,
you might
all
not
of a sudden
ever
you know
met them before, yet there's that initial piece of trust. When you sit into a taxi and the taxi driver gives you salam, you automatically trust him. When you see the tasbih hanging from the from the mirror, you automatically trust him because you know he's a Muslim, he's a mu'min, he believes in the same things you believe in, he holds the same morals you hold, and it's an amazing feeling to be part of a community like that. And I think that's an important message, I think, for the youth especially, to never ignore that call. I know we might be entertained with Instagram, you might be entertained with Snapchat, you might be busy playing football, wherever it is, but make a habit of praying your salah. Even if your mind's not in the salah, you pray it, right? Because that's how you start.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you start. obviously your salah is not going to be perfect from the beginning. Yeah, you will be late at the beginning. Yeah, you might miss a couple at the beginning, but you keep going, you keep pushing, you keep fighting, right? You never let shaitan win. You try to imagine it like a battle, right? A battle between you and shaitan, a battle between you and your nafs. If you stop fighting back, then they'll just win. And they never give up. Trust me, they never give up. And you're going to be the age of 17, they're still going to be fighting you. They're still going to be pushing.
Trust me, they never give up.
They never give up. Whether it's even when you're sleeping, when you're awake, shaitan will always be fighting you.
It is a constant, battle. You're quite right. They don't rest. If they don't rest, you can't rest.
Exactly.
That's about it.
And it can become hard sometimes. Sometimes you will feel like you're going backwards. Sometimes you will feel like you're not moving as fast as you want to move. But just remember, as long as you're on this path, as long as you're praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you prayed your salah today, then today was a win. Just remember that in your heart. If you read the Quran today, then today was a win. You won today. And take it day by day. Don't overwhelm yourself thinking, oh, hey, I have 5 years to do this.
I have to keep going for another 70 years. And interestingly, I wanted to mention when you mentioned about Allah calling you. And what is Allah actually calling you to? Allah is calling you to goodness. Allah is actually doing you a favor by calling you. I mean, look at this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Rabb and you're the servant. Should it not be the other way round? Should the servant not be calling to his Lord and asking for sustenance, for provision? But Allah, out of, once again, his infinite kindness and mercy, calls you to goodness, calls you to him. He calls you not once, not twice, but 5 times a day. He calls you 5 times a day. And he says, my servant, come towards me. And this is for your benefit. This is to benefit you in the hereafter. It's not, oh, let me show you how to make money real quick. Or that. It's not one of those type of calls. It's a call to goodness. It's a call to your salvation. And yet we either deny it, we delay it. I mean, if someone was going to say, pick up this call 5 times, you'll get 10 million each time.
Yeah.
It wouldn't
I'll pick you up straight away.
It wouldn't even... It just, picked.
Exactly.
So then why, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling us to goodness and calling us to be saved and to have eternal rest in Jannatul Firdaus, inshallah, do we then deny the call? So these are the type of things we need to compare it to. These are the types of understanding we need to have.
Yeah. And I think it's an amazing thing to even just think about, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the worlds, is calling you not even just for the 5 salah. If you raise your hands for dua, even right now, if we raised our hands for dua to him, he would listen to us. And think about it, some people would die to have an interview with the CEO of Google and stuff like that, and you'd be lucky to even get a couple of seconds with them. Yeah, Allah is giving you 24/7 access to him and to be able to speak to him, to communicate with him. And it's an amazing thing to have and to be blessed with. Yet a lot of people, they don't realize how amazing it is. And you won't realize how amazing it is until it's too late and until you lose it. So by educating yourselves, by learning more and more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about how great he is, about how powerful he is, only then will you truly appreciate him. And only then can you start to get even just a glimpse or a small idea of how to show your gratefulness, of how to be a grateful servant and how important these things are. Right? Studying is something that you'll never study enough. Whether you're a sheikh or a scholar, ulama, wherever you are, they'll all say to you, we only know crumbs of knowledge. Right? And if they know crumbs of knowledge, imagine us. We know nothing. But
what's smaller than a crumb? I don't even know.
If they are saying we only know crumbs of knowledge, and there's some people in this world, there's some people I don't want to name and shame, of course.
Yeah, let's not name.
I would never name and shame, but I would see in ISOC group chats and stuff like that, that their brothers, they're pumping up their chests and they're stepping out with hadiths, with quotes, and they're arguing and they're fighting over such...
Oh, they're fighting. I was
they're arguing over such little things, yet the people that are arguing, they're not people of knowledge, right? They're debating and arguing, but they're not people of knowledge, and they're making mistakes in their arguments, and people can see they're making mistakes in their arguments. But if you start calling out their mistakes, then
What's your knowledge?
you
Where's
start
your
adding
source?
to the fire. You start adding to the argument.
That's why I think it is said it's a common proverb when someone who doesn't have aql, that doesn't have knowledge is speaking, you remain silent, because if you are to start engaging in their speech, they'll lower you down to their level. A wise person doesn't have to say much. A wise person doesn't have to say anything at all. It's the people who don't have as much knowledge that are usually shouting, at the top of their voice. So whenever you happen to be in these sorts of situations, it's best to remain silent or remove yourself from
We
the
received another comment from Hilal.
environment.
He
From
said,
who?
Hilal. He said he
Mashallah.
identifies as youth. I think they're speaking about you
I
there.
see.
So, to the next point, anyways.
I can't believe they just casually insulted me on radio.
So our next point is our purpose is ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does that mean? What does it mean to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala essentially? So we know that's our purpose in life.
But what
we
does
know
it
that we have been
actually
created here and we've been put on this dunya, put on this earth to worship Him. But how do we do so? And I think it goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of the show. It's about your intentions. It's about why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you waking up in the morning? Are you waking up for Fajr? Are you waking up for school? Are you waking up to pray your salah to make your parents happy? Or are you waking up to make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
When
happy?
we're young, it's usually the
When
former.
you're young, it's...
my parents
Yeah,
working.
exactly.
No.
You look around, see if your parents are looking, and then
If they're
you probably
not,
pull
you
out
can
your
speed
phone
up.
if they're not.
You can speed up the prayer and then the back. It was nice and slow. Alhamdulillah.
Exactly. And I think this is something that I think everyone needs to think about, right? How am I worshipping Allah? What time have I dedicated to Him? And am I really concentrated on who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is? Like, for example, in our salah, when you're praying your salah, are you just focused on things of this dunya? Or are you focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I remember hearing the story of a man who went to this scholar a long time ago, close to the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A man went to the scholar and he was asking him advice on khushu, and he was going to tell him, I'm distracted in my salah. And as soon as he told the scholar that he's distracted in his salah, the scholar responded and said, what distracts you? Is it hell or is it heaven?
Subhanallah.
So even the scholar himself, he can't even imagine someone being distracted by the dunya. He can only imagine you being distracted by the next world. That's how much belief he has in the next world.
It wasn't what's in the dunya distracting.
Exactly.
What in the akhirah?
He wouldn't even see that as like a logical thing for someone to be distracted by this dunya.
Is it hell or heaven?
And a lot of the time you'll see when someone asks for advice on khushu, when someone asks questions on how to attain khushu, all we're distracted by is this dunya. But I feel like that comes from a place of being surrounded by it. So I feel like it comes a lot from this. And for anyone listening on radio right now, and you're not watching the live stream, I'm holding up my phone when I say coming from this. But a lot of it does come from the phone, and a lot of it does come from being around it 24/7, being surrounded by the dunya, being surrounded by social media, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok, wherever it is. You're kind of like indulged in the dunya so much, and you'll see it creep into family so easily and so silently, right? You'll see people at family gatherings.
I was just about to say that.
He's about to steal my point. Now there'll be people at family gatherings.
Not talking to each other.
Everyone will be in silence, and everyone will be on their phones.
You would think, is there something going on?
Yeah, and there will be times when they talk, but a lot of the times it's just one person turns around their phone and says, yo, check this out. This just happened or whatever. And we're so immersed into our phones that a lot of the time, and I've seen this a lot with younger people, is that their communication skills are they're deteriorating, they're going at a very, very fast rate, right? And I think it's a lot to do with the phones, right? We're good at texting, we're good at sending voice notes.
You can text with your eyes closed.
Yeah, you're good at texting, sending voice notes and sending snaps or whatever, but then when it comes to face-to-face contact, all of a sudden people don't know how to communicate, they don't know how to speak to each other, and that's extremely important nowadays because, of course, there's a lot of work when it comes to da'wah being done on social media, when it comes to Instagram, TikTok, there's so much work on da'wah being done, but I feel like it's just as important to do it in real life as well. To do it when you're speaking to an audience, when you're speaking to a crowd, even just workshops, classes. And this does take us on to a later point, but inshallah we'll get onto that later.
Well, why don't we go to it now? Unless you don't want to.
We could.
It's up to you.
Yeah, because I don't think we'll be able to even get to it because we're way behind schedule this show. But I'll speak about it now, inshallah. Start a project that benefits others. One, it could be anything. It could be writing a book. It could be starting a charity. It could be a regular event at the masjid. Anything. And a lot of us, like you might be sitting at home right now thinking, "Yo, what's this guy talking about? Start a charity? Like what a mad project to do." But if everyone thought like that, there won't be any charities out there.
That's true. And
you'll be amazed of what you can actually achieve with your time. Right? These phones and this social media, a lot of the time all it is wasting our time. And that's what it's designed to do. You'll see the people that created social media, the people that created them, their children aren't on it. They're not on it themselves because they know exactly what it's supposed to do. It's a consumerism trap. And I feel like only when you leave these and only when you start doing projects to benefit others, that's when you realize how much time you actually have. Something selfless, like whether it's a class at the masjid, whether it's a youth club, a regular event, whether it's even writing a book, I said, for example. Everyone has something to give back. There's certain experiences you had that no one else had. There's certain journeys that you've been through that no one else has been through. And maybe, inshallah, down the line, it could benefit someone. You don't know how it could change their life, how it could bring them close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there's always a way of you benefiting other people, but you just have to find that way. And you can start now. You can start when you're young. You can start when you're 15, 16, 17. And I'd say that's even the best time to start.
You have time then.
Because the people that start when they're 30, 40, they regret it. They say, I wish I started when I was younger, because then I can really hone my skills. I can become better at what I'm doing, better at public speaking, better at fundraising, better at benefiting others. And if they started when they were 15, 16, then by the time they're 40, 50, they'd be doing so much work to benefit others, right? And a lot of the time you'll put the effort in, a lot of the time you'd make the posters, you do things like that, and it won't always pay off, right? Sometimes your event will fail, sometimes people won't turn up, sometimes people won't benefit from it, but it's about keep going, because that's not the reason you're doing it. You're not doing it for the numbers. You're not doing it for the views. You're not doing it for the likes. And it's an easy thing to get sucked into, especially with social media, YouTube, Facebook, all these. It's easy to get sucked into like the views and the likes. Exactly. But I think the best thing is when you do it and you go home and you don't even check the views, you don't even care about it. You're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're doing it for yourself. Although it's a selfless act, you're doing it for yourself at the end of the day, because you will benefit from it. You'll get the good deeds from it. Anyone you motivate towards the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll see the effect from that. You'll see the beneficial knowledge being passed on, the sadaqah jariyah that will be passed on for you, right? At the end of the day, although we like to say selfless acts, it is of course selfish at the end of the day, because we are benefiting ourselves. We're only doing work for ourselves, right? Because at the end of the day, when the day of judgment comes, when justice is served, your good deeds will come towards you. Right.
Subhanallah. But no, definitely we should, especially when we have the time, let's invest, our time in something worthwhile. Some people, they want to do that when it's a bit too late. So let's do it now, inshallah, and reap the benefits of it in the future.
Inshallah. I think going on to the next point, this point it's a hard point to navigate because it's different in every single situation, right? And the next point is never to hold grudges and making it a habit to forgive first, right? And it's easy to say. It's an easy statement to say not to hold a grudge. But only when you're in that situation, only when you're actually in the situation where you're holding a grudge, only then can it become hard, right? And only then can you understand it. I'm pretty sure everyone in this world, every single person in this world will be angry at something at one point in their life, will be upset about something in one point in their life, will be wronged by someone else at one point in their life. But if you make the habit of, and it always starts small, everything starts small, right? If you make the habit of not holding grudges over small things, then when it comes to big things, you won't hold the grudge. Because you realize that person is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That person may have made a mistake, they may have done something wrong, but you'll know at the end of the day, if you forgive them, if you pray for their guidance, if you ask Allah to guide them upon the right path, you'll realize you're two people in the same game, in the same chess piece, in the same chess set, wherever. You're in the same trial, you're in the same test. Just how that person made the mistake, you could have made the exact same mistake to someone else. And if you'd like others to forgive you, if you'd like others to not hold grudges against you, then you should forgive and not hold grudges against others.
I mean, very well said. I have two things on this particular point. First and foremost, holding grudges, that does something to you. It has a negative effect to you. You can't live your life, subhanallah, holding a grudge. That eats away at you. It eats away at your nafs. You know, some people, unfortunately, they live like that. They live with such hatred and such malice. Oh, this person wronged me once. Now I'll never, smile at them again. Never give them salam. Whenever they say hello to me, whenever they invite me, never again. You can't live life. You can't live like that. That's not healthy for you. You know, mentally, that's just not good for you. Spiritually, that's not good for you, because we have to learn to forgive. And you mentioned it quite nicely. You know, you probably have done something to someone down the line, you've forgotten it, but they remember. So if you want to be forgiven, you have to learn to forgive. So you can't live with that sort of attitude to keep on having grudges in your heart. That's not good for you. And the second thing I want to mention is, an example, a role model. The prophets, alayhi wassalam, all of them, they didn't hold grudges whenever the people, insult them, harm them, hurt them physically, mentally, emotionally. They didn't hold grudges. Didn't say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh, these people did this, strike them down. And we see so many examples. And I will mention the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Subhanallah. I mean, I don't have to say it in detail. The persecution, that himself and his companions went through, the innocent lives killed, slaughtered, the hardship, the boycotts, all these sorts of things. His own society. Subhanallah, they turned against him. And it was the conquest of Mecca. Subhanallah. The way it is said, it's beautiful. When the Prophet came into the city, the Quraysh were like, that's it, we're done. Even the Sahaba, I think there was one Sahaba that said when they were entering Mecca, they're finished. In colloquial said, they're finished because we're the winners now. Before we were weak, but now we're strong. They're finished. He referring to the Quraysh. But what did the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? He said, I will say what Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam said to his brothers, which is, I forgive you, go, none of you shall be harmed. There was a few, but, he forgave the majority for what? 20 plus years. These people have made your life a misery. And just like that, I mean, the strong person is the person who can forgive. He was able to just let it go. Some people hold on to that. So let us try to emulate the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all the other prophets. Let's not hold a grudge. Let's just learn to let go and to forgive.
Inshallah. And even that, like, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam forgave them after all they done to him. Yet we can't forgive someone if they crack a little joke in a class, in maths class or something like that. Something
that's
so
a very specific
that, right?
Example, Zain?
Nah, I'm alright, don't worry. Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. But something as small as that, some people can't even let go of. And they plot it, like they think, oh, I'm going to do this to get them back. I'm going to get revenge like this or like that. I'm going to throw a water balloon at them or something like that.
These examples are very specific.
It's just my mind. Good imagination, alhamdulillah. But even like holding grudges, even at school, whether it's in the workplace, at school, at university, it will never benefit you. It'll always bring you further down. It'll always make you worse off than the person that you're holding a grudge against. And who knows what that person is going through, right? That person might have let out their anger against you. They might have been malicious towards you. They might have hurt you in a certain way. But you don't know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing that person with. You don't know what they're going through in their personal life. You don't know what they are being affected by. It could be something personal in their own homes. They could be going through 10 times what you're going through, but you'd have no idea. And you'd be sitting there plotting your revenge while they're going through something way worse than what you could even imagine. I feel like this happens a lot in social media. Like people send mug shots of other people on social media, things like that, and people get angry about it, and then they try and get revenge, and then try and send mug shots of other people, and it's just an endless cycle of revenge, and then people holding grudges, and obviously no one's going to benefit from it at the end of the day.
That's not how people should live. You shouldn't live reacting to people, oh, this person hurt me, now I have to hurt them. But then they would say, this person hurt me, now I have to hurt them.
You'll see a lot in schools as well, like, or if two boys get into a fight, you'll see, oh yeah, my cousin will come back me next week, he'll jump him or something like that. That person gets jumped, and then he calls his cousins the week after, he jumps them, and then more and more people try and get involved. And then eventually you'll see that both sides end up losing. A kid goes home to his mother with a bruised eye. A kid goes home to his mum with a tooth fallen out or wherever it is. And who are you really affecting? You're affecting the mothers of this ummah. You're affecting the fathers that have raised you. You're affecting the brothers and sisters. You're affecting the cousins. You're taking time from other people's days. You're adding sins to other people's scales just because of your small disagreement, your small grudge that you had with another classmate of yours. And it's never beneficial for anyone. And I think that's such an easy thing to get into in like year 10, year 11. A lot of people hold grudges. A lot of people start jumping each other. And then you see, not all of them, but some of them, when they get to sixth form, they start maturing up a little bit and they stop getting into fights. They stop like beefing each other and they start focusing on their A levels or their university degree and stuff like that. But again, some people do continue on that path because you like to say that old habits, you can't always get rid of them. Some people stay on that path. Some people keep on jumping others, keep on fighting others, keep on holding grudges. And you'll see the path, if they carry that on for years and years and years, eventually leads to something that's bad, right? Eventually it could even lead to you going to jail. It could even lead to you failing your degree, failing your A levels. And it affects your studies a lot more than you know. Because when someone's in, I don't know, beef or something like that, they're always looking over their shoulder. They always never feel at peace. They never feel like they're safe because they anger so many people, because they can't forgive, because they're holding grudges. I feel like this problem is such a big problem nowadays, and we tend to ignore it, right? We tend to think, oh, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. We're going for what we deserve to get. But you tend to forget all the times the Prophet ﷺ forgave those who wronged him. And if we should be following his sunnah, right? We should be following what he done, and we should forgive those, especially over such small things like these. Right?
Sometimes, you get in grudges over the most smallest or pettiest of matters. It's not, the world isn't ending just because someone accidentally didn't say hello to you or this or that. And something that you said that really struck me was, would you risk your own sense of security for the sake of taking a grudge? I've got to pay this person back, and now for the rest of your life you're looking over your shoulder, when am I going to get jumped? I have to be ready, I have to be that. It is a vicious cycle, and it is something that we need to, we have to have the mentality that this is not going to benefit us in the dunya or the akhirah. So why are we spending our time doing these sort of things?
I think, alhamdulillah, we went through quite a few things today, but we're nowhere near finished. Right?
we went through
we're
quite
not even halfway through the notes.
We have a lot more to
There's
go
a lot
through.
more to speak about, inshallah. Maybe we'll do a part 2. I know we say that every time we do a part 2.
Where's the part 2?
But don't worry, I'll save this one, inshallah. I'll do a part 2. We are reaching towards the end of the show. I'll just quickly recap what we went over. So we compared this dunya to the afterlife. We compared it to the day of judgment, and we compared it to only being 0.2%. We went over the example of the hotel room, and we went over so many other things about this dunya. Inshallah, we'll continue later. JazakAllah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this